Welcome everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Kelsey Sher, I serve on our board of directors, and I'm here to introduce this lovely group to you. But before we get started, this session is actually sponsored by one of our amazing sponsors, Game Plan. So Game Plan has been a proud partner of N4A for the last 9 years. Yes, you heard that right, 9 years with N4A. Helping student-athlete development professionals deliver world-class education and career resources. So give me a shout out. Who in here uses Game Plan currently? Okay, we've got some work to do. All right, with us today, Ted White and Hannah are in the back. If you have not used Game Plan, check them out. Look at what they have to offer. Take a moment after this session. They'll be in the back of the room. And see how they can be partners for you and your institution. Again, if you haven't used their app, personally, I have in the past. It's a great resource, so highly recommend at least a conversation product demo. So thank you both for being here today. We appreciate you. And now we'll pass it over to our group to get started.
Hello all. Good to see you all. Thank you all for being here for our breakout session. We hope to make this as memorable, but also as useful as we absolutely can. But first thing we want to do, obviously if you were at the luncheon, we talked about Kristina there as well, but if you also weren't aware, she was very, very instrumental to the white paper that we put together. So we thought it was really important to just take a moment, if you will allow us, just have a moment of silence for Kristina and just acknowledge, what she has done for us, but also to remember her and make sure that she's with us today in this space. So if you could just take a minute with me. Thank you very much. We wanted to show you a little bit about who Kristina was. So here's some of our favorite pictures that we all had with Kristina. As you can see, she was present in a lot of things, N4A, and very important to us. Something that I thought Kristina embodied very well. In one of the sessions we had earlier today, we were talking about purpose in the room, obviously something very important to me. But one thing that is, we all have these little hills that we're willing to die on. I have a couple of those. One of those for me, when it comes to purpose, for me, purpose is about who before a do. A lot of people wrap around purpose in what you do. I think it actually starts with who you are. And I think Kristina was, 100% who she was represented everywhere that she went. How she did things was a reflection of who she was. She was never trying to do things a certain way because someone else did it that way. She did it because that's who she was. So just wanted to share a few things about Kristina with you all today and honor her today. I'll pass it over to Liz.
Hello everyone, my name is Liz Reyes. I'm a Senior Associate AD of Student Life at the University of Pittsburgh. I wanted to walk us through what we're going to cover today. It's very simple. We will provide some context and some background of where this working group has been back around COVID-ish we started. We're going through the whole history, give you some background of where our group has been and who has helped us get to where we are today. And then we'll also review a new instrument that we have in the student-athlete development space, so stay on the edge of your seats for that. We'll also review a few examples that we've actually tried with this new instrument. We will be able to captivate and put out all of the information that we've gathered through those live examples. And then we would like to tap into your expertise and your feedback and your experience to make this tool even better. And then last, we'll wrap up with some Q&As and any recommendations that you may have for us.
Awesome. By show of hands, who was here when we unveiled the first white paper at N4A? Okay, see you all. So welcome back. We haven't completely scared off everybody yet. But thank you for that. But we just wanted to make sure we set the stage in terms of the investment that's been in here. I think it's very important to acknowledge we are not here because of what has been just done yesterday or last year or 2 years ago. There have been decades of work to actually get us to this moment. Whether it's through the NCAA and a lot of the working groups that were there, but also just understanding the Student Athlete Development Task Force that was put together to look at a lot of these initial standards and practices that we're trying to associate with our field. If you were associated with the white paper, whether you were on a subcommittee helping with measurement or some of the tools in itself, or you were actually on the white paper with us as well, could you please stand just so we can recognize you real quick? We would love to just, give you a little shout out. There we go. Jesse's already standing, so that's okay. But yes, we wanted to make sure we had to recognize those as well. We're also building a Student Athlete Development Director Research database. We're really trying to find out who is actually leading student athlete development on each campus. As you can imagine, not everybody has a clean-cut job title where it just says Director of Student Athlete Development. They have a million other hats that they wear, especially in Divisions 2 and Division 3. We want to be all-inclusive to all of those. So we are really trying our best to help disseminate information, especially when it comes around this. So I'm going to toss it over to Marissa, who will get a little bit about the white paper data that we were able to collect from the first round.
Awesome. I got to use my coach voice. I got some
competing
interests there. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Marissa Nichols, Associate AD for Student Athlete Development, and I'm at the University of California, Berkeley. I'm thrilled to share that we, as a board this year, wanted to understand how our field was using the white paper. We wanted to collect some information on how it's impacted your learning, how it impacted maybe some of your behaviors on campus, and what to do next. Now that we have this paper that's supporting industry standards, where do we go from here? So thank you to the 105 of you that gave us some great feedback and information. The main thing to note from this was that there was a general consensus that our field would really like to see a program review, something that could help you understand how is your program doing on campus, how does it align with best standards. About a third of the population suggested that maybe writing a second white paper could be helpful, but they actually really wanted to see more implementation tools. So what can we do as a field and industry to provide our practitioners with an actual tool that can be used? So that's what you're going to see through this instrument. A lot of people said that, or suggested that convention was a great way to roll this out, so here we are. But also an interesting data point was that although this was identified as an important initiative, a lot of our industry colleagues were not sure if the institution would put forward the financial investment to bring this to campus. So that's something that we're going to bring up and talk through together, is what are some benefits of doing something like this, and also what are some of the inhibitors to doing something like this. If you want to read more of the data, I'm happy to share. We kept it really brief for you.
All right, so I'll jump in. Joe Luckey. Back in the fall, Dr. Kay connected Marissa and I and said, we have a student athlete development task force that is looking at an instrument, looking at where student athlete development can be more involved in program review. So very quickly, I chair the institutional services working group for N4A. And a lot of people have differing understanding of what that group is, but the very short of what we're trying to tell everyone is institutional services is really the consulting wing of N4A. So we want to have 2 entry points, essentially. We had a conversation so that we are going to look at academic integrity assessment, AIA, which has been in place since pre-COVID, and then we're looking to have this next instrument, that student athlete development instrument. And so that if you're looking to get information, more best practices, more from our peers, we want to have these entry points. Then if your institution wants to go further and do a program review where we have 2 consultants come on your campus, then we would do that. We made a presentation, Marissa and I did, on behalf of the task force and all the great work that they've done to the board in January, and they said, let's go. So we are here today to present this. A lot of work has been done. We feel very good that this will be a great piece. We did put the white paper into the program review, so once that was established, that immediately went in all program reviews. So when we go on campus, it's a holistic review. Academics and student athlete development. It's not one or the other, it's both. Consultant application and training, what our goal always is to follow and that'll be part of what we'll talk about today. But we have a process, we set up criteria, and then we select consultants, do training. What we've done with AIA and program review is we had different criteria. Program review, we were looking for more experience. AIA was more of an entry point, maybe 5 years in the profession. The whole thing I learned when I took over this role, we were starting this, actually Ted, who just left the room, Ted was one of the ones that said N4A needed to do business different. We used to have program certification. The word certification didn't really resonate with a lot of individuals, so we went to program review, and the importance we learned with presidents, provosts, different individuals on campus as N4A, we had to have quality control. So I feel very, very, take on that responsibility that our consulting wing has to understand that when we put these documents together, they are getting in the hands of presidents, provosts, and various individuals on campus, beyond the athletic director is our hope, right? To tell a lot of the great things that are happening on our campuses and look at other areas for possible opportunity. That's where the music comes in.
Yeah. Sorry. Not quick on it.
Trumbo, right?
I got you design. That's part like
you did do an amazing job with design. Before we talk about the actual instrument, just a huge favor. First, thank you so much for being here. If you happen to have a couple extra seats, if you don't mind raising your hand or scooting towards the middle so that maybe some of our folks standing can come sit, that'd be great. Thank you.
Don't be shy.
And there's maybe a couple more up here if you want to jump in. All right, so just a little bit on the instrument before we get into your feedback. So first thing to know is that we did our best to really pull from the literature, thinking about Dr. Kristina Navarro and how she worked, really using data to inform this practice. She was such a big part of this coming together for N4A. We also looked at a couple other program reviews that are out there across industries to understand what does that look like across industries. And then we did our best to model the white paper, so you'll see a lot of consistencies in those practices and how you'll respond to the questions. We also didn't go fully AI in that we'll have a nice sound report, or excuse me, an instrument that you can fill out and provide information on, and in turn you'll get a report from the consultant. And you'll also have that human touch too, so being able to talk through the report, what we're seeing, what the strengths are, what maybe possibilities and opportunities are for continued growth.
We are aware that the standards are varied across all institution types. You know, we have NAIA with D3 to D1, so the instrument is scalable based on your program. We're very aware that some of us are an academic counselor, an athletic trainer, SA Dev coordinator, and the list goes on and on, a coach. There's so many very different institution types, and our roles are also varied. So know that this accounts for all of that. And then the instrument also has a place for you to provide feedback, and then one of your supervisors, whether it's an associate or assistant AD or somebody from leadership or your administration, can also provide feedback on this. So we have two different perspectives there. And then no matter who is in the VP2 role, I'll obviously roll off from my leadership position, but whoever steps in will always be connected to Marissa, Lamarr, Mark, and Dr. Luckey. So there's direct connection from the executive leadership from N4A and this working group. So they're not kind of building on their own and going off on their own. There's some accountability there, and there's communication so that they can provide us what they're gathering from this group, and likewise the executive leadership team can provide them guidance as well.
Let me do a quick check-in with you all. So we'll do a quick assessment here. It's called FIST to 5. So FIST being, I haven't seen really any change whatsoever in my student athlete development program at all over the last couple of years. 5 being, I have seen a tremendous amount of change in what we are trying to do in student-athlete development on our respective campuses. So let me see your hands real quick. 5th being, I'm not seeing much change at all. 5 being, we're changing a lot. Yeah, so this is affirmations that we're all experiencing a lot of change when it comes to student-athlete development, engagement, whatever you want to call it. So ultimately, this is why we are trying to do what we want to do. It's because we want to make sure, as you all are experiencing change, you are navigating the change with some level of idea of where you want to go, instead of maybe consistently feeling like you're just playing catch-up. Or whatever neighborhood school is doing, or whatever someone else is doing in your conference, or what's the flavor of the month that you hear at NACDA. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're doing things like that. So what it is and what it isn't. I think the number one thing that we want to stress, and Joe will definitely back me up here, is this is not a punitive tool. We're not trying to come in here and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you got to change this, you got to do this. It's really to help you completely assess where you are at and have some type of objective way to have conversations with not only your own staff within student-athlete development, but as you branch out and make that conversation wider, you can pull it back to a central location. It's really hard to navigate change or make an ask or do different things in your departments if you don't have anything to pull it back to share, this is where it's actually coming from. And if we can provide something of use like that for you in order to inhibit or start what you're trying to accomplish, it's important. I know I haven't made it very far in 15 years of college athletics by just walking up to my athletic director and saying, hey, I think we need to make these changes. And then he or she is saying, well, why do you think we need to make it? Well, that's just what I'm hearing from the student athlete. Not good enough. Now, if the student athlete walked in the door and did it, things would get done. But when I use things like industry standards, or this is what's happening across our conference, or like institutions, it's not enough for them to actually get over the hump of what we're trying to do. So hopefully the SADEV 360 tool will really give you a way and a mechanism to start connecting a lot of dots to do a lot of these things that we hope it's actually doing. Giving you a barometer, generate awareness, having that senior leadership collaboration to talk about what we're doing in student-athlete development, because everybody has stood or sat in a all-staff development or all-staff meeting in college athletics and have heard some type of phrase from their AD of, we need to enhance the student-athlete experience. So that's not us. That's not what we do. So you get frustrated by that. I get frustrated by it. Maybe that's why I'm not on campus. Not this But maybe a little. But I think it's really important. But this is what I was missing. And I think this is why I've stayed in the game for as long as I have, especially within N4A, even while I'm not on campus, is because it is important for us as an organization to provide you with resources to actually help you do your job. And not just have fun at NACDA once a year. So this is hopefully what we're able to provide you. Joe?
It's hard to compete with that. You took everything. It was awesome. I think what my role really in helping their task force was just understand a little bit of history. We started this new barometer, as Mark says, in 2017. We've had consultants go on to campuses. We've done the AIA. And I said to them, the best part about this is the ability to give back to our own members. I wish in some ways we could figure out a way that as soon as a new director takes over, a new student-athlete development director takes over, they get an email from N4A that says, hey, by the way, we have these services. We would love to help you. That is something that's so critical to us in N4A, is to give back. And I don't want to see all these other wings of consultants that go in and do it, because they don't know what we do. We know what we do. And so as I was talking to Mark and Marissa and the crew, it was saying this is our opportunity for student-athlete development to talk to student-athlete development and have something that gives you items for opportunity, and really to embrace what I've seen mostly with AIA is really to embrace how many great things are happening on your campus, but here are some opportunities that you can get better, and to have conversations that are supporting your unit your director, whoever it is, that it gives you something in there. And that's why Mark's point, he said, I need to reiterate, it is not to come on your campus and have something. So everybody in today's world gets nervous when something is in writing. We're really cognizant of that piece. And I said to this group, the more we can do this as a reflection, and we have to put something in writing in some ways to validate the process, to validate what N4A is doing. And that's where the consultants are really critical to do the training and to understand all of those pieces. So again, it goes back to what it really is. It's an opportunity for reflection. For your institution to take a measure, instrument, and say, where are we really at, and have the conversations on campus. Because one other piece that I would reiterate to Mark's thing is, everybody thinks that they know student-athlete development. Everyone has the ideas of what you should do. To me, it's the profession and the group in athletics that everyone has all the ideas, but they don't have any of the data, they don't have any of the practitioner. They just think that they can say, well, you should do this. This is a good opportunity maybe to hone in and say, this is what we want to do as an institution, and this is what we want to strategize, this is what we're really good at, and let's lock this in. Maybe there's other opportunities to grow, but let's really celebrate what we're kicking butt with in developing our student athletes. And with this, you want to give your student athletes some of the voice and recognition for them to say, this is what we're really liking about your program. So those are some things that we've talked about with the task force.
Well, we are now to the X's and O's. So I give the honor to give you just a peek from a 30,000-foot view of what is actually in the instrument. But before I do that, raise your hand if you're in a student athlete development department or you're leading a student athlete development department. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand if you work with student athlete development in some type of capacity, whether you're in academics, athletic training, okay? And then raise your hand if you indirectly have maybe showed up for a student athlete development program or event. The point is, everyone in this room raised their hands, right? So when we look at this X's and O's, I want you all to make sure that you don't think of it as like, well, I'm not a director or I'm not leading the program. These things should be a collective approach, but like my colleagues have said over and over, whether you're at Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, JUCO, right? We want to make sure it's catered to you where you're at. So I won't go into all of the 10 sections here, but the assessment takes about 30 minutes to do, right? So you can upload different charts. There's a lot of qualitative information in there, but there's also different touch points in there, either to the, there's also different touch points in there to evaluate for us or any consultant that is doing the review on not necessarily what is missing, but how do we evaluate and leverage what you already have, and what are those opportunities that you have moving forward. I'm going to go to the measurement, because that's something that we continue to talk about. That was something big that we had in the white paper that we want to continue to do now, right? So what do you do to look at success for your programs, right? Is it a quick survey at the end? Is it a fist of 5 when they leave the room, right? Is it a testimonial, right? Is it, you know, how many student athletes come to you afterwards? What does that assessment look like? Because not only is this going to assess your programs, right? But we want to make sure that when we recommend you, we have, you know, one of the best measurement people in the industry with us, with Dr. Marissa here. But we want to make sure that you all have that as an approach again, because again, what does leadership want to know? Is it working? Right? How do I know it's working? That's great. Marissa came to my office and she had a great time last night at the resume workshop. That's cool. I got other things to figure out. That's great. Right? But how can you show that on paper, not just through what we're doing with this instrument, but also how you measure your programs? And then this piece right here for program delivery, so I'll go back and forth. How are you doing it? Is it mandatory? Is it once a week? Once a month? You got 3 a week? You got once a semester? Is it lectures? Is it guest speakers? Are you doing everything? Are you setting up the room? Are you speaking? Are you breaking down the room? Because I know I've been there before. So what does that look like, right? Do you have a class? Do you have a class for your freshmen, a leadership class, a seminar for your seniors that are transitioning out, right? So we want to look at what are those different touch points that you all have, but then again, what are those opportunities? A lot of people don't understand that no matter what school you're at, you can create a class for student athlete development, right? One part of it is putting athletes in there and developing them, but the other part is now, what our industry growing, is having either grad professionals or undergrad that want to learn more about student athlete development. So I know for academic folks in here, that could be a little touchy with the classes, I get it, I've been there. But just another opportunity that does not cost money, right, and just takes a little bit of resource. So we already tested out the pilot with 3 institutions, all Division I, so I'll be transparent with that. One was FCS, one was FBS, non-power, you still saying Power 5 or 4? 4. I'm sorry if you're in the Pac-12. And then Power 5, Power 4, FBS school as well. 2? So as I was saying, a few things that our good colleagues gave us feedback on. So the platform is really easy and user-friendly to do. Like we said, we made sure that we thought about the user in mind, right? So sending this to some of our colleagues was even tough because I know it was at the end of the year, finals, etc. But it doesn't take too much time for you to sit down to do. And again, the alignment with the white paper. But the big pieces of it that people talk about, that we'll talk about and get feedback from you all is, okay, what is this going to look like? These questions are great. Like, I love it. I'm self-evaluating our department. But what will that final report really look like? How long will it be? Are there industry practices in there, right? So that is what we'll talk about next here.
Before we break you into the discussion portion, just what you'll get from this, what's in it for you, an expert level report from, as our colleagues said, people who know the industry. We think that this will really enhance your program, as you're going to get practical suggestions and implementation ideas and strategies. It again aligns with the industry standards and having that solidified. And then we want you to be able to use this with your athletic director, as it's been said, with your SWA, anyone who oversees your program. This is what we need, this is what we're seeing, this is where we can really use support. So all of that is with our industry in mind and how we can really help you take it to the next level.
All right, so next we are going to have a discussion in true SIDF fashion. We are going to think, pair, share. All right, thank you very much. We're going to think, pair, share. We have 2 questions up here that we would like you to discuss with whoever's sitting next to you, to the left or right of you. We are going to give you about 4 minutes or so to discuss with who's next to you, answering these questions. What are the incentives? Why would I want to utilize this measurement tool? What are the barriers? What are the barriers? I just heard power 2 a second ago. That was wild. What are the barriers? And then also, if engaging in this process, what are your expectations? What are you hoping to get out of it? All right, so we're going to give about 4 minutes. If you can think, pair, share, and have these questions with whoever's next to you. Luckey right here with his laptop. So as you share your feedback, he's going to be on the keys, literally on the keys, scripting your feedback. We're going to utilize this for us to come back and look at your feedback and tweak as necessary. So what do we have for why we want to do this? What are the incentives for us behind this? Feel free to share out.
Can I ask a very dumb question?
No question is done.
So I'm like real new to the whole student development thing. Like the instrument, is this like a program? Is it a tool? Is it an app? Is it a website? Like what can you help contextualize what we're even, like the procedures for how to utilize the instrument? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. Dr. Luckey, do you want to show us like the layers one more time?
Well,
That's a good question. That's a good question because there are several layers to it. Dr. Luckey covered it quickly, but others may have the same question.
I'll jump in and then let Marissa with some of the questions. I mean, essentially, it is a tool that would be a survey. It would be a survey that the institution, you would have 2 people filling out the survey with a lot of questions that we felt were necessary for our task force organization to have a better understanding of your student-athlete development space, what you're offering at your institution, and then what we're trying to do is, in a sense, have a report back to you that recognizes the items that your institution is doing well, cross-industry standard, more of the sense of not trying to get into, I guess, if you're a Division I institution and you have this X demographics, then this is what we know across like institutions that they have in terms of student-athlete development. Then we give you feedback relative to that. If you're a Division III group and you have X set up, then we're trying to look at the scope across Division III, like institutions, and give you the feedback relative to your student-athlete development program. Like we do with AIA, the same concept would be there are what are the opportunities that we are seeing across the industry that maybe your particular institution does not have. Or we see elements of it, but we think you need to go further there. Then if an institution says, hey, we like some of the feedback we've gotten, we want more, we want to do a full program review, we want 2 consultants to come to our campus, spend 3 days with our institution, and they write up a longer report, then that's phase 2. Help?
Thank you.
It's a question. You said originally there would be 2 people who would be filling out the questionnaire. Who are they?
So right now, and this is partly why we're doing this, is to get your voice and continue to make iterations. So right now, it's the individual that's in charge of the student-athlete development program on campus, and then their boss, who oversees student-athlete development, whether it's SWA or the athletic director, deputy AD, those 2, and we welcome other perspectives to help. We understand it could be a 360 all around where we have student athletes do it and coaches, and that might be phase 2 or 3. Right now we wanted to start let's do this part really well, and then we can grow from there.
Is the survey done independently with those 2 people and they come together for future information to compare, or do they do the survey as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now it's set up that there's when we did the pilot, I think we just had, I know Jesse helped us with our pilot too, we just had 1 instrument, but I think it's up for discussion if it would be helpful to compare answers, or if that would be a process that we recommend as we look at this. We want this to be as advantageous for you as possible, for all of us.
Alrighty, we're gonna shift the questions to the back. We do have a lot of time for questions and answers, but we really want to use this time right now to get your feedback on why this would be such a great move for you and your institution. Yes, go ahead.
2 incentives I thought immediately is sometimes if you don't affect winning, you don't affect the bottom line, or you don't affect recruiting, you're not as well respected within the department from certain people. This provides an expert assessment of what you're already doing in legitimacy to your department and your program. Second, was goal 4 that you went over before. With that report, you can then say, hey, here are the areas we're missing. Donor, help us.
That's great. Thank you. Yes.
I think another incentive for this is it helps with new professionals or even those that have been in the field to kind of streamline how they assess and put together and measure their own programming. I think of end-of-year reports, and so if we're focused on kind of answering these questions that are in the SAW 360, it can help with our end-of-year reports as we present those to various stakeholders, but also being able to continue to tell the story of what we provide for our student athletes.
Love that. At the University of Pittsburgh, we did exactly that. We didn't even get through halfway through the SAW. We were just talking with our young professionals on why would we utilize this tool? There's so many different philosophies. What's ours at the University of Pittsburgh? And then to your point about hitting the bottom line, what are those metrics that we hit or have failed to hit? Maybe this needs a little bit more support.
As you all know, this field, you can do it. There's so much to do, but we have to figure out what's best for the institution and go all in there, recognizing there's things you just won't get to, and that is absolutely okay.
Other incentives?
I think it builds a really good case for rather than just hearsay or taking evidence-based that's compared to others.
Yeah.
So it's also taking a little bit more of the control back in what you are doing well as well as the areas for insurance for
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yes.
New director of academics and student athlete development is now underneath New World. So the white paper has been a great resource for me, and I was planning on doing my own evaluation using this, and you were telling me you can do it for me. It sounds wonderful. Not to mention, our area reports to campus. Campus folks really value outside organizations and their opinions, so that's a great selling point for me to say N4A says instead of what you said, Ashley. So,
Right. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. It's really exciting to see that this can be a tool that we can use to innovate, more streamlined. I feel as though if you're in a smaller shop, you're constantly comparing yourself to someone that's empowered to, for example. And with that in mind, this can give us the ability to really understand where can we go with resources that we have allocated. When people are constantly asking, why do you want to change? Why do you want to move from mandatory programming and stuff like that?
That's great. Thank you. Any others on incentives? All right, I'm going to open the can of worms. Barriers. Barriers. What are those?
We want to hear it.
Yes. I think with the college landscape as it is now, it could show that, hey, why do we have SAW professionals when maybe even cost saving to go with an outside source to do that same job? So instead of like having it in person in office, like we just use another resource.
Outsource.
Outsource.
Not use the SADF office and your staff, but outsource that support. Bring in a financial advisor, a speaker. Other barriers? Quiet group. Yes, go
I guess
ahead.
my question is about cost. It's kind of like does it cost money, or is the survey, is the Mondays, is that an entry point for everyone? Does it cost money? Is it a consultation, or is it a package? Just some of those details.
That's a great question. There is a cost. We're figuring out those costs, but it's going to be very affordable. Like we're working through that. It's very, very affordable. Okay, and Dr. Knuckles will hit the cost as well. Other barriers? Yes, they did.
One of the for like the schools that don't have as much depth in that department.
Yeah.
They say there's literally only one person in the department. Because you, or if you know you send it up to their direct support, where that person is their response to serve.
Good feedback. Yeah. The last second part of this answer was who's filling out the survey. If it's a deputy AD or your SWA and they're not down in the weeds like you are on the day-to-day, will their feedback be as accurate or as telling as yours?
So maybe it'd be helpful for the school to identify who the best source of knowledge is to be the speakers to respond.
Other barriers?
For the barrier versus Sarah's, I definitely can change how other, like when we use white paper, we're talking a lot about other departments that we work with in athletics, so how to capture some of those elements, like Larry Donovan loves football and basketball, is like, where does that live in terms of how we work together, and that's captured in this part of this in a sense, but also very separate.
Yeah, no, totally. For those that might have not heard Dr. Reed in the front, she mentioned how are we capturing partnerships within our athletic department. If we're very similar to player development and the support they're providing, how do we capture that with this tool as well?
When's the cost for being inclusive with the other divisions 2, 3? Is that gonna, I guess, inhibit small division 2s like myself from getting that information across the industry because we can't like provide the money for that cost?
Dr. Luckey. Yes. I'm gonna go here. Yes, go ahead.
Survey, as far as like I understand, like it's not like including like day to day, and then like I know for us we have like separate players like football or basketball versus like Olympics, so like doesn't take to like the graphics of the athletes that you're serving, because I would assume like this is not just like PWIs or other.
Yeah, that's great. Accounting for biases based on who's taking the survey. That's great. Thank you.
I think just kind of another note, just like having the people actually do the surveys. I think a lot of people with emails and everything, depending on how it gets sent out or how we're going to showcase it, is a big thing. Just because again, there's some surveys even now probably that we all do that we don't get even responses to anything when it comes to the athletes, coaches, and whatever.
Yeah, that's great. We're coming up with a marketing plan, and Dr. Luckey and Dr. Nichols are helping in that area, just so to your point, so that doesn't get lost, right, with all the survey requests that you get. Any other barriers before the last question? Yes. Yes.
I think the elephant in the room is the state of our industry, and how relevant is this going to be if ADs are making decisions and having type departments, sports, etc. And just wondering, are they going to want to invest in something like this where we were trending and hopefully still are trending forward, but what's it going to look like in a year? What's our department, what's our industry, what's our support systems, what happens if athletes and employees?
Thank you for sharing that. I'm surprised that wasn't the first one. I said, open a can of worms, and it was like, money. No one's going to say that. No, but thanks, Jesse. That's very real. Very, very real. Number 2, if engaging this process, what are your expectations?
Yeah. We talked about follow-up and some action steps.
Yeah. That's great. And that will help you with what's next, right? You got all this feedback, hit the ground, hopefully a little bit more supportive. Yes?
I think with those action steps, the conversation of what resources are available per place, just because as a one-person department with limited monetary resources, could be something where like, yes, this is a gap right here, but trying to navigate how to actually go from there would be really helpful. So just go on that.
Ideas for resources or collabs? Yes.
Talk about recommendations, catered recommendations, first rule, best practices, and identify areas where they have strengths, some type of support.
Tailored recommendations, yeah, definitely. Like we mentioned earlier, everything's scalable when we give you this back. So we're not going to say provide crazy support when we know you're a one-person shop. That's just realistic. Yeah. Anything else for expectations? Yes.
I'm thinking about this from the response time after completing the survey. What should happen, or what?
What would be the expectation?
I guess within enough time, if we're planning for the next year to get the recommendation that, before the end of the fiscal year. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure when will the survey be rolled out, and I guess that's where we'll probably start at. Or is it going to be a window of we're accepting, submissions during this time frame and everything, and then we're at like a 3-month probably return time within that or something?
That's good feedback. Yes.
I think about like if the survey goes out and we, provide you out to our institutions and you give us your feedback, it's, hey, we're going to come back in 2 years because we just want to see how it is. did it work? Did it not work? Why didn't it work? So that you can learn from it as well. Because like obviously we're learning from you all how to do better. Maybe you learn from us at different institutions, but like I might work at this level at a different institution, but just like getting that reevaluation after you get that feedback, I think is really important because it's just like the whole survey thing. Like sometimes we don't get feedback after we hold them to just a reevaluation of, hey, like this worked. Thank you so much. Like, oh, okay, this worked. How do we make it even better? Just the efficiency of it, I guess.
Following up. Yes.
My expectation would be that it would be generalizable and adaptable since the landscape is always changing. That we would be able to utilize it no matter what happens in the industry.
Adapting to where we're at, right?
Yes.
Not necessarily an expectation, but something that can be pretty key is intrusion hearing. So if you're really lacking in the area of whatever, who is somebody in your industry that is in like school that is doing it to find out like stars and having that relationship or that conversation, even if it's just like a 1-time 30-minute Zoom, just to go over like, hey, this is how I navigated that particular situation.
Perfect. Carrie, based off your strengths or weaknesses, yeah. All right, now we're going to transition for the last 10 minutes or so, Q&A. So feel free to ask us any questions regarding the instrument timeline. I thought Luckey also had some items that he wanted to close on.
Okay, so real quick, just answers. I think some of the questions. Cost. We charge it right now for AIA, it's $350. Okay, so AIA, that's the Academic Integrity Instrument. That one is, we have 2 surveys. One is a holistic one that like 7 or 8 people who know academics in and out fill it out. And then you have as many people in your athletics department fill it out that touch academics. And this is a big one with AI and academic integrity. We usually end up with about somewhere 200 to 250 people in each institution filling out the survey. It's usually somewhere about an 8-week process. So when I say 8 weeks, like you submit the application, I'll have a call with the institution, then Adrian at NACDA will have a call with the institution, me, Adrian, talking about how he'll get you the survey results, the information gets compartmentalized, and then we have a consultant take your information, and then you get a report back, okay? That's AIA. Trying in the perfect world to do it somewhere in that 8-week mark. Program review gets more intense, longer conversations. I like to have the first call because I like to really know what the goal of the program review is. You submit an application, that doesn't tell me enough. The other piece with all of this is I like to know the applications because I want to know what your institution's looking for so that we compare the consultants who are best armed to visit with your institution. AIA is 1 consultant, program review is 2 consultants. We're still working on student athlete development instrument. The entry point will be 1 consultant, 2 consultants. That's why we're seeking this feedback and going to spend the next year trying to pin that down. But the whole point being we need to have industry-wide consultants, diversity, so that then Marissa, her group, myself, who's involved, are assigning the appropriate people. Program reviews, we usually have directors that are part of our consultants simply because they are exposed at a higher level, academics and student athlete development at the highest level within your institution. We have 1 director that will be sent to your campus, and then we have other individuals, so I never want it to be seen that when we do program reviews, it's only directors. There are individuals that have been in our industry 10 years or more. They're not a director, it doesn't matter, but they've been in the industry 10 years or more. They have some type of leadership position. If I'm going to talk to, like one of the recent schools, I'm talking to the president's office, I need to present N4A like a validation that we have vetted these consultants. Okay, we have an onus of responsibility. Program review is $3,500 plus the expenses of the 2 consultants that come to your campus. We have negotiated with institutions who are smaller resources, and we have moved off the $3,500 value. The board has given me that ability to do that, because at the end of the day, this is not about money. We have to have money, right? Because there is people putting a lot of time and energy into this. But at the end of the day, we're trying to help our institutions. So where would student athlete development 360 go? Somewhere between 350 and the 3,500. We're still trying to work that out. We need to make it something that is economical, because the first thing I said to this group is we have to figure out a way that we have an incredible instrument, and we go from talking about it here at N4A to people actually doing it. It is fantastic. We'll do a great presentation here today. People get excited, and then you don't have people sign up. We then totally missed the mark. So the value of this, please talk to this task force, because we need to know what your institutions would pay for. What do you see as the value? What's the appropriate number? Somewhere throw out 1,000, right? Is 1,000 something you can go back to your campus and have somebody support you, and you feel that that really gives a fair market value to what N4A is doing, okay? Those are some of the logistics. So I'll pause. Any other questions, kind of where we're headed?
How are you getting your baseline data to compare institutions? So our institution does the assessment, and you look at our answers and say, here's how you compare. As a Division III institution, where is that data coming from where you're comparing us to another program?
So that's what is strategic about this. This is the start of the group, but also making sure that we engage with different individuals at that level of Division III, right? So while these are Division I folks, myself and Mark work at the NCAA where we cover all 3 divisions. So that's where we have more of a touch point in seeing what that looks like from campus to campus at the D3 level, but we also know a few other people that are doing it at a high level at the D3 level, so that's what we do.
It's mostly quantitative, and every section has a qualitative opportunity for you to give more context and feedback. Great question.
Yeah, I guess we hit on it a little bit earlier, but my question is, we talked about the 2 people that would be doing it, so like the director of, or maybe assistant AD, and then the SWA. What's your thinking behind that? I guess some of my worry is somewhere SWA may not have a student athlete development or academic background, so they may not really understand it to that level, or even as such, depending on the school. So like schools I've been at before, the SWA does nothing with it. It was my boss and then myself doing it all. So what was your thought process?
So real quick, let's pause to that. Everyone I think has had that question about who should fill it out. What's really quick, like first 5 people, who are you thinking, besides the student athlete development director responsible, who else potentially in the athletic department should take this instrument? There you go.
For me, thinking about SMU, it would be our assistant AD, who was Lisa Rollins, and myself at the time, who was director of student athlete success. So us two, and then honestly, if there's a space for a student athlete at some piece, because we have people who went through, and there's a lot of things, if you did SMU, at the time, we would say we did a great job. I'm close enough to our student athletes where they'd be like, we have holes right here. And so we're a little behind on that. So even making sure that student athlete voice from those who've been through the program a while have been there a while can give you that feedback as well. So that would be my 3 people.
At that point, would there be consideration maybe to engage the SAC? Since every campus has SACs, or there ideally are leaders that are representative of every team, might be worth somehow incorporating a component of the survey itself.
Anybody else?
I don't think, I would say academics is really close to where we're at. So Dr. Cliff, he's our senior associate AD over academics, but we fall under academics technically. Even though he doesn't do the work that SWA does, he might be a little bit more assistant with me, assistant development than SWA is.
I think player development folks from